Happy belated New Year. It's 2025. Hope you had a good Christmas and a prosperous New Year. Now, the point in this video, the player I don't want to speak about is Mo Salah. And quite frankly, he's definitely in the GOAT debate in terms of the greatest players to ever play in Premier League history. And certainly one of the most talented. But I do feel like he gets a bit underrated when certain discussions takes place. Especially when it comes to, comparing him to Henry. Now, Thierry Henry is the greatest Premier League striker, arguably the greatest player, probably the greatest talent in Premier League history. That would be a credible argument to make over what he achieved and things that he was able to do, and others. But I think you can have that conversation of Salah being, because right now Salah in his 8th year at Liverpool is putting up good stats, some that are better than Thierry Henry's. So obviously now the comparison wouldn't be fully fair to make because Henry's a striker and Salah's a winger. With that being said, if we're just basing it on their football ability, I'll still take Henry. But there have been seasons where Henry had that 20 goals, 20 assist record that season. So I think that's I think Salah's going to break that record that Henry has in terms of assist. I think he's going to break it, and I think if anything, it just mounts up his argument of being the GOAT. Because you can certainly make the case that he's the greatest right winger of all time, the greatest wing player of all time, over Hazard, over CR7. Now, many people would be outrageous if you were to make that comparison or that argument that Salah is a greater player than CR7 in particular, because obviously CR7, is arguably the second best player of all time in many people's eyes. But if we're just going to focus on the Premier League, Ronaldo was already in a well-functioning United team when he got there. Salah went to a Liverpool that was occasionally went to cup finals, but wasn't getting over the line. It wasn't successful as the United team. So, with that being said, I think in terms of difficulty in achieving what they achieved, in spite of the limitations of their club at the time, you can certainly give that aspect to Salah, because there was no guarantee that Liverpool were going to win the league every year or going to compete every year when he went to Liverpool from Fiorentina, from Roma, from the Serie A. So I think more respect needs to be put on Mo Salah's name, because he's done a lot in this league, scoring 32 goals in his first season as a Liverpool player. 32 goals. And let's not forget that he was seen as a flop at Chelsea when he played for Chelsea, which was only for like 10 games back in 2013, 2014. He was seen as a Chelsea flop. But he came back and proved his worth. Proved that he's one of the greatest players of all time, especially in the Premier League. So I don't understand why there's such. I just don't understand why we can't give his flowers. Why can't he just be getting his flowers? Because the fact is, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. People are so biased to I think they're so protective of the old school way of football when it comes to Thierry Henry, when it comes to CR7. You could say that as a footballer, you prefer Salah over Henry without being disrespectful. But people who are Henry fans won't see it that way. You can say that on the right wing, that he prefers Salah over CR7, but United fans and CR7 fans won't see it that way, because it's all down. It comes down to nostalgia, a biased thinking towards players of another generation, of a new generation, and also another player that kind of gets protected when Salah's greatness being discussed is Eden Hazard. Now, Chelsea fans would say that Hazard has always been better than Salah, which is true to a degree. It certainly is true. And Hazard was lighting up the Premier League when Salah was seen as a flop at Chelsea. So, and yes, and they were both at the same club, Chelsea, and Hazard was the guy. So there's no doubt that Hazard in his early part of his career was the better player than Salah. But I would say since 2018 onwards, I think Salah's been has been the better player, especially after Hazard went to Madrid and completely flopped and has now retired. I think you could certainly say that Salah has had a greater individual Premier League career than Hazard. Yeah, Salah has had an individual better Premier League career than Hazard, based on the fact that he's still playing at a top level. Arguably, he's having his best ever season. So, and also, Hazard, I don't like using this word privileged, but I think Hazard he had more of a privilege playing growing up in a footballing nation like Belgium, playing for different clubs, and eventually going to Lille, where he became well known, which is how he got to be to Chelsea, as opposed to Salah playing in the Egyptian Premier League. It's a lot more likely for you to be to kind of develop as an elite player playing in Belgium or France than it is to play in Egypt, where Salah was playing in his early years of his professional career. So I don't mean to do it, but I have to bring that in, because that is important. That's relevant to the discussion of the greatness of Salah, and when he gets compared to Eden Hazard, especially. So I think for me, Mo Salah is the greatest right winger of all time, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. I think he is personally. Is he the most talented right winger? Maybe not. Maybe that goes to CR7. But overall, Salah for me is the greatest right winger of all time, and I don't see him retiring anytime soon. He at least has 2 years left at top level, I believe. And once again, like I mentioned before, he's having arguably his best ever season in terms of assists, in terms of goals, etc. I think now people are starting to, appreciate his playmaking skills as well as his goal scoring. But I've said all I need to say. I've said all of it. Take care. God bless.